Last week on Gleeboot, Blaine totally lost it and made puppet sonas of everyone he knows or maybe even doesn't know and drained the school of craft supplies. And Cullen forgot to make a Camila Cabello Cinderella joke about Rhythm Nation because that song was in that episode of Glee and also was the opening number of Camila Cabello Cinderella. And that's what you missed on Gleeboot.
I have so many questions and notes about last week's episode. Okay, first, the Cinderella movie, I don't remember if it's still in the running for that like fan favorite Oscar. But that's a thing.
And I was like, the movie was terrible.
I don't know. Maybe it's just because it was like a bad 4 years for movies, I guess. Also, we forgot to talk about, I didn't even think about it till now, that Blaine has never met Starchild. So how would he know what he looks like to make a puppet that vaguely looks like him?
Wow.
Whoa, what is going on?
Did Starchild have a puppet? I don't.
Yeah, he did.
Don't you remember him doing that? Oh,
did Demi Lovato have a puppet too?
No, they did not. Remember, I said it like 7 times because I was like, they pieced the fuck out. As soon as they got to the script and like, puppet? No, thank you. I'm good.
Well.
But
yeah,
that's
they were
crazy.
like, I already had to do the Camp Rock franchise. I don't need this.
If anyone, if Blaine would have met anyone and got like a brief understanding of what they look like, it would have been Danny because she's dating Santana, was his friend. But Starchild is not dating anyone in this group. So not that he doesn't matter, but like I don't think Blaine would.
Kurt did have a fixation though, so maybe he had a full-on description of Starchild to Blaine and was like, I don't want this person in my band, back when that was a thing.
Or the writer said, we don't care.
That's actually probably what it is. They were like, no one's gonna notice. And you know what? They were kind of right because I didn't notice until Cullen brought it up.
It's not like anyone's gonna make a podcast about this show.
10 years later, no, why would they?
Did we also talk about that Demi Lovato has sung to a ghost? Did we cover that?
Yes.
Okay, that's just important. And
the other thing that I wanted to mention in that, I think I didn't when it happened, was that you said that they should be known for singing to a ghost. I think that it's really hard to overcome that like really badly angled photo where they called her Poot. They called them.
I
Poot.
feel bad for that. That's not.
Yeah. There's no way like singing to a ghost could trump that trigger.
Yeah.
But they have been trying.
Trying. As a preamble to introduce our guest, you may have seen on our social media us posting a video of Diana Agron with the caption, where is there a Glee reboot? And it's like, she would rather die, and I respect that. This guest sent that to me. I posted it to our social media, and every other Glee podcast that follows our social media then posted it. So
wow,
this guest is a Glee podcast trendsetter. He's a contributor to the community.
What's that called? It's like a thought person. I can't remember what it's called.
Influencer? Thought police?
Thought police. No. It's escaped me.
Gatekeep girl boss.
Gatekeep girl boss. And he's
thought leader.
Thought leader. He's also usually like, when I have a meme that requires several levels of like meme lore to get, I'm always like, this is the friend to send it to. Like, he's always going to be up to date on the meme lore. And then one time we were hanging out and he was like, yeah, I've been like seeing a lot of Glee memes or talking about how insane Glee's been. I was like, I have a podcast, you should come on it. And he was kind of like, and then eventually I was like, it's gonna happen. You're just gonna be on this podcast. So without further ado, our good friend Derek.
Hi guys, thank you for having me. Yeah, you finally broke me down, and here I am at gunpoint. Not really, but yeah, I'm here finally, and. You guys definitely picked an interesting one to introduce me to.
Gleeboot. This one's such an interesting one, I think, overall, because I have so many questions about the legitimacy of it actually not being season 4's Christmas episode and not just an excuse to put all these like crazy ideas into one episode and ruin Christmas for literally everybody. So yeah, you're not alone in this.
Yeah.
Well, you haven't seen all the way up to season 5, right?
No. So like I had never really seen like a full episode of Glee before. I'd seen like snippets and stuff off of like little YouTube compilations of like Glee out of context, part 5.
Yeah.
Oh, my favorite one.
So this is an interesting episode in and of itself because it doesn't follow the timeline and we're like back in time. But for you, I guess it would just be the only thing you've ever seen. So
I kind of feel like this episode is literally a compilation. It is literally Glee scenes out of their context. Like they were scrapped scenes that they ended up being like, okay, we're just going to put everyone in Christmas clothing and sweaters and it's going to work.
It felt like a fan fiction.
Because there's a scene that I know I've seen in like one of those compilations that I didn't realize was in this episode. It's the one where like Blaine starts singing and they're like, shut up. And I was like, that's from this episode?
But it makes more sense in the context of the last episode, which has not yet occurred in this timeline.
Oh my God, you're right. What? Oh.
Stop it, Cullen. Stop it.
So before we get into the episode, first off, this may be Hannah's last episode of Gleeboot because she lives in Florida and you can't say gay there anymore. And Glee is synonymous with homosexual.
What?
So
is that an actual thing that happened in Florida?
It's okay.
What's happening?
There's a bill that was passed that means that in elementary school or any other grade where they consider it not appropriate, you are not allowed to mention the existence of trans or homosexual people.
It's basically like no talk of sexuality or gender identity. And it's supposed to be from kindergarten to 3rd grade.
5th grade.
But then,
yeah,
I don't remember which.
Because Rafa's writing a paper on it right now.
But then there's literally also just an addendum that's like, or any other time that anyone deems inappropriate. And I'm just like, cool loophole there. Love that.
So like, yes, I understand how people are saying, why would we talk about sex with children? But it's like, oh, you have gay parents, you can't mention that.
Yeah, that was literally like one of the first things that came to mind. And I bitched about it with my boyfriend and his family. And because obviously we all live in Florida. It's a huge thing. Like, oddly enough, this is like a space that we could talk about it, but also I just don't want to talk about it right now.
I mean,
now, is this like specific to schools or literally?
Yes.
It's specific to school. So the Hannah can't say gay was a joke.
Yeah.
But yeah, and like there's not much more to say about it other than that. Please vote for pro-LGBT politicians. And
if Ron DeSantis, I have to say this really quietly because of the context that I'm in. If Ron DeSantis runs for president, don't fucking vote for him.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Disney funded the politicians who voted for it.
Yes, they did. And they literally said nothing about this bill. And they were like, zipped tight. So.
And then everyone started complaining. And then Disney was like, oh my gosh, we're sorry. And then they said, we're going to donate all this money to the Human Rights Council. And the Human Rights Council was like, no, thank you. Because they're like, until you actually show substantial.
You can't have your cake and eat it too, so they say. You can't be giving to both sides. That's not how it works.
You can't break someone's leg and then be like, here's a crutch. Aren't you thankful I gave you that crutch?
Exactly. That's literally it. So
I mean, I just watched Turning Red, and like literally there's the smallest scene where one of the main character's 4 friends who's obsessed with this boy band briefly dances with like next to a female character. And I'm like, I bet they think this is LGBT representation.
It is, duh. Just like LeFou in the live action.
That made me feel so seen.
That me.
I too am a bumbling fool who supports brazenly evil straight men because I'm in love with them.
Who harass women.
Yeah.
Who clearly say no.
And attacks inanimate objects just for them. Yeah, for their attention. Yeah.
What's this podcast about again?
You guys, this is so far off the rails. Like, I decided to take a shit instead.
Yeah. Okay. Also, before we get into the episode, you guys should listen to all three of us have episodes on Life's But a Song Pod. I'm talking about season 2. Hannah and Alyssa are talking about season 3 of Glee.
The best season.
Obviously.
I mean, you guys almost convinced me. Like, I'm a season 2 supporter, but like listening to your episode, I was like, maybe this is the best.
But also, Cullen messaged us, calling us out for basically being like, so the numbers that you guys said you liked and thought were good, I was the only one to support them on Gleeboot when we talked about that episode. And I was like, I'm sorry. But then I was like, but maybe it's the context that really ruined those songs for me. So basically, if you want to listen to us, well,
I think remember what I said on Gleeboot. So
I don't remember what I said in Gleeboot. I don't really remember what I said on Life's But a Song. That's probably not good. I'm gonna listen and be like, oh God, why did I say that?
No, I mean, it was very funny, but I just remember you said it's specifically Life's Without You, and I'm Still Standing. You're like, oh, those are really good. I remember being like, oh, I like those, and you were like, Colin, you have bad taste. And then you didn't even mention Paradise by the Dashboard Lights.
Totally forgot about that one existing.
And then this was very funny to me. You were talking about there's this mashup and it was really bad, but Cullen liked it. And then you were describing Walking on Sunshine / Halo, but then you eventually were like, oh, it's I Can't Go For That, Making My Dreams Come True.
I don't remember.
And then you said you liked the cover of Perfect, which is a good cover, but it is also where Kurt wears the half sweater thing that was my episode LVP.
This is so funny. I know I called Cullen out a couple times in the episode. So if you want to hear me talking shit and Alyssa trying desperately to keep the podcast together.
Wait, did I?
I don't know.
It was funny. I was like driving and like smiling ear to ear listening to it. So I would recommend listening to it.
Jeez, you didn't even laugh? What's wrong with you?
The only smell. Laughing is dangerous while driving.
I don't laugh often because I was an altar boy and I had to learn how to suppress my laugh. And then my mom also said my laugh sounded fake as a child.
What exactly were you trying not to laugh at during Mass, Cullen?
Okay, Mass is hilarious.
There would always be like someone would do the slightest thing wrong and I'll be like, oh, that's fucking hilarious. Like, oh my God. Yeah. Anyways, so let's talk about this episode. First, so we kind of touched on Derek's Glee journey. But Derek, what are you drinking today?
So I am drinking some chilled Pinot Grigio with ice in a plastic clear solo cup.
That is a lot classier than this episode. So,
like a middle-aged white woman at some kind of like rich people party out in the garden,
like a christening or a housewarming.
Yeah, like some gala benefit or something.
Yeah.
I stopped at, I think it was a 7-Eleven or maybe a Circle K, and I bought this Cabernet Sauvignon. It's Dark Horse. It was $10. It's pretty good.
Oh my gosh, they never covered Katy Perry's Dark Horse on Glee. Kua Bay India Pale Ale. Yeah.
And I am drinking by the same brewing company, but it's called Big Wave and it's golden ale. And the bottles are interesting. I pulled my label off and it came off beautifully. And it says Liquid Aloha on it, and it has like Hawaii on the bottle.
Like the state, it's like embossed on it or whatever. That's cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Derek, What are your BuzzFeed quiz results?
Okay, so
let me guess. Let me think what character Derek would be. I feel like we get so many Quinns.
I was just gonna say probably Quinn. That seems to be like.
But I could see him as a Finn too.
Oh, okay.
Maybe a Sam. But those, yeah. What about you, Alyssa? What do you think?
Listen, there's no basis for this at all. None whatsoever. But I feel like you got Mercedes.
Oh, interesting. And he's like, who's Mercedes?
Exactly. I don't know why.
I know who Mercedes is because the actress was played like the main character's best friend in Good Luck Charlie. So I was
really?
like, oh, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, same actress. I Googled it. And I watched like one of those edited YouTube clips where she does like the I smashed the windows to your car song. And there's just like one of those like Snapchat filters with like Kurt with the big nose or something being like, my Twinkmobile. Oh my God. So
father.
So who did you get? Who did you actually get?
I got Quinn.
Yeah.
So many Quinns.
I assume was the guidance counselor?
No. Quinn was the deeply Christian cheerleader who got pregnant and then tried to tell Finn he was the father, even though Puck was the father, because Quinn and Finn had never actually had sex. And then she gave the baby for adoption. She became obsessed with becoming prom queen.
She tried to steal her baby back.
She had a punk face, tried to steal her baby back. Mm-hmm. Now she's at Yale, and good for her. I think next time we see her, she will be dating a Gossip Girl alum. So, yeah.
Does any of that resonate with you?
He's like, yes, I too have dated a Gossip Girl alum.
Yeah, I also wanted to be prom queen in high school. Let's see. I mean, they were very much like, oh, you made some mistakes. There was also a question of like, who would you want to duet with? I'm like, I don't know any of these people. I know Blaine. It's like the actor who plays Blaine has like done like a Harry Potter musical. He like he can put on a show. So I'm kind of like, okay, like, I'm not a great live performer, so he can do the show, and I'll just like be the supporter behind him doing like jazz hands. So I think, so maybe that influenced my result.
So have Quinn and Blaine like ever interacted on the show?
Have they?
The most I can think of them even being in the same scene is TGIF. All right. Did you take the Glee boyfriend quiz as well?
Yes, I did.
Did you get Blaine as your boyfriend? I could see you dating a Blaine.
Actually, I got Sam.
Oh, okay.
Listen.
Not a bad choice at all.
No, he's really top of the cream of the crop when it comes to Glee characters.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
And he dated Mercedes at one time, so I was kind of close.
And Quinn.
True.
I am 90% sure Sam has a bingo board with all the Glee girls on it. Just saying. Yeah. Okay. So now it is Marry, Smash, Murder.
Okay.
We're doing GBFs.
Right.
We have
Best Friends.
Gay Best Friend. That movie is not good. I've been forced to watch it all the
That
time.
movie is fantastically awful.
That movie is like, oh my gosh, we're just
so
like
long.
Mean Girls. And I'm like, you're not.
Yeah,
How dare
it's
you?
I could dedicate 7 hours to just talking about that movie probably.
Emily, friend of the podcast, who's been on a few times. One time she fell asleep while watching that movie for like the 4th time, and our friend Justin put his hand over her face so she would stop breathing and wake up so she could continue watching the movie.
What?
What is
She's
this?
like, we have seen this movie multiple times.
That is bananas.
What a way to wake someone up.
Yeah.
So our contenders this week are Kurt Hummel of Glee, Kevin Keller of Riverdale, and Griffin of Secret Life of the American Teenager, objectively the worst teen drama of all time. So I will go first because I make these polls, so I know who all the characters are. I would murder Griffin because he comes from that universe, and that universe is dangerous to the multiverse. I guess I'd smash Kurt, which I don't think will be very pleasant, but it'll be doable. And then I would marry Kevin from Riverdale, because he spends most of his time being like, oh my gosh, these people are insane, and planning musicals. And that's what I would do in the Riverdale universe. So he does also have a habit of cruising at like truck stops in forests, especially when he's like 16 and you're like,
Forests?
Yeah. He just like goes running in the forest and like hooks up with people.
See, here's what I'm going to say. This is what a bill like the Don't Say Gay bill does, is that it suppresses sexuality and causes lots of toxicity that could lead you in your future to be going into dangerous places to seek love and affection, or physical affection if you can't find love there. It's bad. Sorry for that tangent. I don't know. I guess this Kevin guy, he looks approachable. I'm gonna marry him. I'm gonna kill Griffin for being on that show. And then I guess I'm marrying Kurt, which I guess like he's not as annoying.
Didn't you say you were marrying
Rachel.
Kevin?
Did I say Mary? Oh yeah, Mary. Okay, so I guess I'm fucking Kurt.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank God. Oh.
What's Griffin from again?
Secret Life of the American Teenager.
He does not look approachable.
No, and I'm pretty sure from what I read about him is like halfway through the show he disappears with no explanation.
Oh, that's not good.
Oh,
not like kidnapped, but just like he's
they write
here.
the character off without giving any solutions.
This is a hard one, guys. Mostly because these are all gay men and I'm a woman.
That's a good point.
Yeah. So I think I'll probably marry Kevin because Hannah, you're right. He looks approachable.
And the actor is straight, so.
But we're not talking about the actor.
But yeah. Kevin is a little less like Kurt. They're like everything about him has to be homosexual. Kevin's a little more like a normal person. Yeah.
Like if we got married, it would be at least like people would not straight up go, "You're married to a gay man."
Right.
Kurt, I would probably, I don't know. I would smash Kurt. No, I wouldn't kill him. He's like a decent human being, so he can live. I don't know anything about the other guy, but it seems like maybe he should be killed, so he's going to be murdered.
That's my favorite part about playing. This is like,
we're passing such heavy judgment.
They're all fictional.
Those other fandoms are going to come after us and be like, how dare you kill Griffin? He was a gem. And I'm going to be like, listen, I didn't watch the show. Derek, who were your choices?
Well, I honestly had to Google Griffin from Secret Life because I only saw advertisements for that show when I was like in middle school and I was not allowed to watch it.
Yeah.
That's a good choice.
Yeah, my parents, solid parenting there.
Yeah, A+ for the Shea family. Yeah.
I mean, like, I don't know. Like, Kevin sounds like he has, like, Kevin and Kurt kind of have their shit together a little bit. And as we saw in this Christmas episode, like, Kurt's got a friend style apartment, for a struggling actor in New York City.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know. I mean, Kevin seems to kind of have like a little more of his shit together. So I guess like I'll jump on the bandwagon and say like, yeah, I guess I'll marry Kevin. not bad looking, and he's writes musicals.
Yeah, I think he's the drama teacher at this point in the show. I'm a little behind, but I think that's when I last saw him.
Yeah.
Oh.
And I know the most out of Kurt, so like I wouldn't want to kill him because he seems like he'd be a nice guy.
Right, he could still be your gay best friend.
Yeah.
After you fuck up, and it was just like a mistake. Chalk it up to that.
Yeah, it could be like one of those
experimentation.
Where it was just like, oh, we did that one time. Let's not tell anyone about that. And then Griffin, it's like, I mean, maybe now we have a reason for how we ended up missing on Secret Life.
All the fans are like, kill him.
Yeah, exactly.
The same thing.
Were just like MFK. Okay.
The same thing happened to Danny, who was the token gay character on Teen Wolf. He just like halfway through the show, like disappeared.
Yep. Also, in the first episode of Teen Wolf, not to like get totally off tangent here again, but there was like a girl, like a POC girl that I think was supposed to be like their third friend, like Styles and I literally can't remember his name.
Scott McCall.
Yeah, Scott.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think like they were supposed to like be like a trio, and like she did not show up in the second episode. So
I don't remember this. Oh my god.
Because so basically Scott talks to some girl at like his locker, and then like they talked to her a couple times, but then she's like never seen again. And I'm pretty sure like that was supposed to be like a trio thing.
They never talk to a girl?
Yes, they do.
Do not.
Yes.
We will have some
watch
Teen
the
Wolf
pilot
characters.
again. I literally watched it like a year ago, and I was like, who is she? And then I was like reading into the episode, I was like, I think maybe she was supposed to be like their other friend, and they just like did not pursue that.
I will have some Teen Wolf characters on these polls in the future, and
thank God.
A show I actually know.
Yeah. That movie, Dylan O'Brien is not returning for the Teen Wolf movie. And I'm like, why are you making this?
Yeah, what's the point?
Yeah.
Isn't he like the only thing that matters in that
Sorry,
show?
everyone else, but like Styles, come on.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so I've been avoiding it, but here we are.
Yeah, this is all just avoidance.
Here we are, Glee season 5, episode Darkness 8. Unaired Christmas special. What added some extra flavor to this episode was that my parents were the guests on last Christmas episode. So every scene, I was just thinking, what if I'd put my parents on this Christmas episode?
Well, we kind of had thrown around an idea of putting someone else's parents on this episode, and that person was me. And boy, am I glad that I didn't even watch the episode. I didn't know what it was about. I was like, I don't think it's going to work out. Like, in general, lots of shy people in my family, and I'm so glad.
I know. So like, it's Christmas.
Traumatizing.
Like, the Christmas episodes are usually pretty like light, you know.
This was one of the heaviest episodes of Glee, and they did a school shooting episode.
So it opens with Sue saying that.
No, not Sue. Jane Lynch. Literally Jane Lynch.
Putting Cole in Melissa McCarthy's stocking. She knew about some of those movies that were coming up, and she was like, no, thank you.
Yeah, that Tammy movie.
Yeah. And she's like, this was filmed for season 4, but they decided to cut it because it was too weird. And they made the other one was rushed into production. And I'm like, so you're telling me the episode with like 5 different storylines that were all like interweaved was made at the last minute. And this series of random bullshit thrown at the screen was what was initially intended.
Okay, so TBH, I totally like could not remember for the life of me what last year's Christmas episode was, to the point that I was like, I don't think they had one. But is it that like last year's episode was like somewhat cohesive, right? Like it wasn't awful. It was just like,
it might have been even better than the season 3 Christmas.
I don't remember the Christmas episode.
So it was Artie had the It's a Wonderful Life thing where he was like, what if he was never in a wheelchair? Puck and Jake hung out in Hollywood, and they got their families to reunite. Sam and Brittany got married because of 2012, but it wasn't real.
Right. It was like, they called it Glee, actually, but nothing about the movie Love actually made it into the episode.
And then Sue gave a bunch of money to Marley and her mom because they were paying for her therapy with Dr. Goodsits. And then her mom was like, thank you for what you did for Marley and me. And Sue was like, I had nothing to do with the making of that film. And then
that's such a good joke.
It is a really good joke. And then Blaine, who my dad called hair product,
rightfully so,
came to visit Kurt. And then Kurt's dad was also there.
And Kurt's dad's like, I have cancer.
Only to never be brought up again, except once by Sarah Jessica Parker. And then,
when they found out that he was fine.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then Kurt monopolized the choir room to sing Stevie Wonder.
Oh,
yes.
Boy.
Okay. So the Christmas episode from last season did in fact happen.
It sounds way better than this.
It is way
There's no
way
attempted robbery. So.
Ooh, yeah. That's the point of the story.
Yeah.
This episode.
Yes, this episode.
And they said a entire plot line about Blaine's obsession with Yule logs was cut. And
oh yeah, because this episode was like chopped up.
Yeah.
Supposedly.
I was like,
supposedly.
I would rather have watched that.
We did just get an entire episode of Blaine's obsessions with puppets.
I'm like down with like Blaine being a total weirdo. Like I'm like, you know what? It's entertaining.
Anything at this point.
Yeah. Yeah. And then, so if we think back to the last Christmas episode, let's try and deal with the timeline discrepancies now. Brittany should be there, right? Because Sam and Brittany were dating.
Right.
I don't think Santana and Brittany had just broken up. And Mr. Shu was in Washington and Finn was teaching the Glee Club.
When does Santana move in?
She thinks this girl's on fire. I'm trying to think of the context. It is the Diva episode.
So is that before?
After?
It's after. It's 3
Christmas.
Episodes after Glee, actually, last year.
Interesting.
So I get why obviously they can't have Cory Monteith there. But a great solution to that is not doing this.
Yes.
Well, so here's the thing. So just to kind of like recap for the audience and also for Derek, that this season 5 of Glee so far is actually the ending of season 4. Like it's still the same school year. So like technically in season 5, it's like April. And then Christmas IRL comes and they're like, well, we can't have them doing April stuff like Easter. We can't talk about Jesus' death and resurrection. We have to talk about his birth first. Otherwise, they're all going to be super confused. So yeah, like they had to come up with something. And I wonder, like, because if supposedly that the Fox executives are like, absolutely no, this episode sucks or is horribly offensive, Ryan Murphy had to be like, well, we need a Christmas episode. And it's April in our current story for no one else's fault except for mine, and we need content. And they're like, okay, fine, like make this palatable, and they failed, but they still aired it.
What would you guys do to fix this problem? Like to have a Christmas episode in a timeline that doesn't make sense.
Tina hits her head.
I was thinking like a dream sequence or something. Yeah,
there you go.
Tina hits her head. Tina-centric.
Except we've already done this, so maybe a different character.
No, Tina will hit her head again in the series. It is a running thing.
So maybe this is just like one more to make the joke really stick.
Yeah.
3 is funny. Remember that.
Yes. So this time she hits her head and like she's like confused as to what the timeline is. Like different characters are there and she's like, wait, what school year is this?
Yeah, that could actually be kind of funny. It's sort of being meta, poking fun at like the crazy structure, but then also you'd be able to be like, to be able to do Christmas.
Yeah, and then she, you know, she could learn something. Tina's been pretty awful this season. She could learn maybe not to vapor rape people.
She could learn, I don't know, just to be nicer. I don't know.
She's not going to learn that in Glee Club because
there's no room for that.
Because we're doing the next episode earlier, so I've already watched it, and I was thinking how Mr. Shue is probably kind of to like these kids' parents, but also Mr. Shue are kind of to blame for how toxic most of these characters are.
Toxicity
lets them do anything they want.
Mm-hmm. What were you saying, Derek?
Toxicity definitely seems to be rewarded in this show.
Oh yeah.
Like, it's my idea. We're doing this. And it's like, okay, cool. You don't get any repercussions from your actions today.
Nope.
Yeah, if anyone acted like a character in the Glee universe in real life, they would have no friends because people would be like, you suck. Like, yeah.
Prison, at least.
I was thinking either a dream sequence would be good for this episode, or we have a lot of potentially not super smart characters, or, you know, just like people who really want to do something good, or someone maybe who hears about Christmas in July is like a thing. Mm-hmm. It's April, and they're like, I just heard about Christmas in July, but I can't wait that long. I want to do Christmas in April.
Sam
yes, exactly.
I was
Sam
just
would.
thinking that.
Yeah. There's so many solutions to this problem.
Yes.
Like they set up a Glee fundraiser for someone's like struggling year-round Christmas boutique. But it's like Christmas in July, but 2 months earlier, because nowadays all the retail stores are like pushing out Santa and elf decorations like, you know, mid through October.
Yeah.
Rafa is obsessed with the date of July 1st because it is when the stores start having Halloween decorations. He's like, that is the first day of fall.
I agree. I love fall. And honestly, if it starts earlier, good.
Fall is my favorite season, but only in the Midwest. Winter is my favorite season in California because it feels like fall.
It's the only season that isn't summer.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's valid.
Okay, so the storylines we have the nativity scene. We have the Christmas tree decorating, and we have evil sex worker Santa.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
That's basically it.
So they're in New York. Santana's just visiting, and she is using her mom's college fund for her to just buy random crap.
We did have questions about where that fund went. Now it has been answered.
But it's not answered because this isn't canon. Nothing that happens in this episode is canon.
That's true, because it wasn't aired when it should have been, and then it was just placed. Well, no, it would have to be, because just because it wasn't aired when it doesn't mean it didn't technically happen to these characters, because as we know, every episode of Glee is a different universe, and it doesn't matter what happens them previously, it doesn't really affect them, or sometimes it does.
It's
so
canon.
This is technically
canon.
It's canon.
Technically canon, because we end up seeing it and it happened to them, even
But
if they
where
never
is
talk
Brittany? Where is Finn? Like,
Listen,
it just doesn't line
because
up.
It doesn't make any sense. Doesn't mean it's not canon.
I feel like
Derek just did a shimmy for our listeners.
Sam isn't super involved. Like, he has a couple scenes.
Sam's a main character.
He's not super involved.
Sam and Tina have like a storyline. Yeah.
So he kind of just like talks to Becky. That's kind of it. But this is my question. Is it like, I'm having a hard time believing that it was actually stuff that they did last year, and it wasn't just something they threw together of cut scenes that they wanted to put, and they just put everyone in Christmas clothes because Brittany is not there. Like, I feel like it is actually hobbled together a few weeks before they had to shoot of scrapped scenes on paper that they just like put together and put in Christmas clothes.
Oh, this definitely was not actually filmed last season. Definitely not.
Well, that's sort of the lore behind it, and there's not really anything that says that isn't the case.
No, but Finn would have been there if it was filmed last season.
Right, but I feel like they wouldn't be able to use his likeness again because like maybe his family wasn't comfortable with that, or they just didn't want to bring up those feelings for people. That's what I think.
Yeah, this was not filmed. I'm with Alyssa. This was not filmed last season.
I
don't know.
There's no way that they would have like a storyline. I guess he wasn't technically in New York, so I guess they could have had him somewhere, but also like
Yeah, this was because
I don't think.
No.
I don't think they just put that at the front of this episode to make it somehow fit into this season, even though it doesn't.
Yeah, it is a non-canon fan fiction romp through hell.
I still think they want you to think that it's canon.
It happened, unfortunately.
Is this supposed to be why Kitty is like suddenly starts becoming a better person?
Could be.
Possibly.
That did cross my mind.
That is the only thing that slightly
makes sense in the rest of the season that happens.
Yeah. So let's talk about New York real quick. Santana's there. She gets them a head, or she gets Kurt like a makeup head thing.
And
she's like,
gets him a head.
She's like, now you can live out all your Jeffrey Dahmer fantasies.
Yeah, it's like one of those like beauty school styling heads.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And he was very excited about it.
And then because she's just here to visit and she's gonna get a hotel, but Kurt and Rachel are like, oh my gosh, stay here. And Rachel's like, I got us all a job. We're gonna work at the Midtown Mall as Christmas elves, and all the big Broadway stars bring their children here. So like it'll be good networking for us. And I'm like, whatever, okay.
I want to know how Rachel just randomly like walks out of her apartment and people offer her jobs.
Yeah. It also is like working at a mall as a mall Santa elf, like really the big break you need to make it in Broadway.
No, the answer to that question is no. But maybe for Rachel it is, because Rachel gets what she wants.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's actually how Leah Michelle that started. She was a mall.
A mall elf.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, that was actually one of my big talking points. I was like, mall Santa elves, new level of hell.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then like so Kurt and Rachel are there, and they're like these and Rachel's like these elf costumes are like kind of slutty or something like that. And then
she's in the least slutty costume.
Yeah, because then Santana comes out in like a very sexy elf.
It's literally like a few inches longer than Kurt's shirt, and she has no pants on. It is bad. Like no one in their right mind would have this costume for children.
It's like a Fashion Nova dress that they just like added some jingle bells and a Santa hat on with some striped like knee socks, I think.
Mm-hmm.
With like the little elbow gloves. And they were just like, yeah, that's a mall Santa elf.
Yeah.
You know, in Las Vegas, maybe.
I feel like Santana used to always just wear her cheerleading outfit. And now that she's like dressing in clothes, there's so many times where her skirt is like short to the point where it like looks slightly odd, or I just feel like it wouldn't be comfortable to wear.
Well, yeah, because short skirts aren't comfortable to wear.
Yeah, I'm just like, yeah. So then Santa's like drunk or something, and then Kurt is all like, hey, so what you want to do? And Santa's like, I don't like your equity card attitude. I just want to point out they're referencing the concept of actors unions. As the show goes on and in future episodes, let's just remember that those exist in the world. You know?
Actors unions exist? Okay.
Yeah. Let's just remember that those
Noted.
They've been acknowledged in the Gleeverse. So maybe Rachel wouldn't be able to just get a Broadway show while she's in college. I don't know. Kurt so then he just ditches them and they're like, what are we gonna do? We're gonna sing Here Comes Santa Claus.
Literally the worst Santa ever.
Yeah, he sucked.
Yeah.
Also, Santa just like was like, peace out, I'm gonna go like drink booze. And they're just like, let's sing Here Comes Santa Claus.
How in the world did that man get the job?
That's a good question.
We saw Santa fake. What you need to do, you run into Heather Morris in a mall, you knock her over. She says, I need a Santa. And you say, I love saving damsels in distress. You are the Santa now. You are
That's
your children.
how we got the job.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, this whole scene did give me Santa fake vibes. I was triggered.
So they sing Here Comes Santa Claus. And then they're
it's like the weirdest arrangement of Here Comes Santa Claus, because unlike Santa fake, they don't like encourage everyone else to join in. They just sing at everyone. And in Christmas time, you should probably encourage people to sing with you so that people are less bored.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because then people just start throwing food at them.
And good.
Or like random
well,
other
not good,
elves are
but like
performing with them.
Yeah.
That was okay.
Okay.
Let's just talk about.
Oh boy.
These elves were
Little people.
Little people in not slutty costumes. I guess that's a good thing. I don't know. And they were like dancing around, and they were literally just like accessories. And it felt like, why are there like little people elves, and then there are only 3 like these kids? Like, why are there children running this? There should be a Heather Morris like elf, Heather Morris from Santa Fe elf, who's like an adult running this, not these 3 like 18-year-olds who have no work experience.
Yeah, and it felt very exploitative of those people.
Yes.
At the end of the day, I'm sure those actors were like, hey, it's a check, you know, so like good for them. They probably got paid well or decently, you know.
We don't know.
We don't know.
They got paid.
They got paid, yeah.
Yeah. It's unfortunately one of the limited options Hollywood is giving out.
Yeah. And I think that is really at its core what made it super uncomfortable, is because at that point there's no other jobs for no other acting jobs for these people.
Yeah, they don't get to play a character in the Glee Club. They just get to be elves.
Exactly. So that is really the core of
in the scene.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the main disabled character on Glee is an able-bodied actor.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Ooh,
it's just like highlighting the problems.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like, it was very odd because most Santa elves are just people like Rachel and Santana in elf costumes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So it seemed like, I'm like, this isn't like a Broadway production of Wizard of Oz or something, or like.
Yeah. It seemed, I'm glad these people got paychecks, but it seemed super exploitative and unnecessary to do that. Like,
yeah, and not realistic. And I know we don't watch Glee for the realism, but like,
as much as I try.
But there are times where I'm like I don't have a super high like this has to be realistic. There are times where I'm like, set it in like a universe. I don't know. Yeah. So then Santa's not there. So then Santana has to be Mrs. Claus. No, then they're there another day, and Santana's just taking a bath somewhere.
It's so weird. I think it's
the same day. Was it not the same day?
I don't know. That's
Next
actually
day.
a good question.
So,
really?
I watched the episode pretty recently last night, and it was like Rachel was like, hey Kurt, like I got us a job at the mall, and like Santana, you can work with us too. And it was kind of like, okay, cool, like I guess she can do it if she wants to. So when they're like calling her up the next day, like, where are you, we need you here, it's like doesn't seem like she's obligated. I don't know, unless she like signed a contract or whatever.
I didn't feel that same way. It's harder to figure out the timeline because they're in the same costumes. Mm-hmm. So it's not like there was a clothing change or anything.
But yeah, she is just like lounging, what I assume is in their house, like in their apartment.
So, yeah.
Just taking a candlelit bath. And I'm like, I mean, yes, we all need like self-care time, but also like, why are we seeing this? Is this necessary?
Yeah, so then she comes, they're like, we need you to be Mrs. Claus. And I'm like, why can't Rachel be Mrs. Claus?
Yeah, I was confused by that.
So what did they do after their number besides get stuff thrown at them? Like, why weren't they fired on the spot? Like, did Santa come back? Did drunk Santa have these children on his lap?
I thought it was the same day.
I did too.
All of the children never got a Santa.
Yeah, and like...
She just literally, like, after that musical number, if we're going with this logic, she did. She's like, because she's like, I'm covered in schmutz. Like, what am I supposed to do? I don't know.
Well, it's like, it is the Santa's fault. As much as I love the concept of Rachel being fired from something, like, if I was the Heather Morris of the Midtown Mall, and these people... like my Santa was off drinking, so the elves performed a spontaneous musical number, I'd be like,
with full instrumental backing. No idea where that's coming from.
And all these backup dancers who are accessories.
They're like, we didn't hire those elves.
I'd be like, good on you. Like, thank you for trying to cover. We'll get a new Santa.
Right.
Yeah.
So then he's not there, and so then she's Mrs. Claus. And there's like a slutty Mrs. Claus outfit.
And and she sits down, and these children, she says some of the worst things that have ever been said on Glee, I think.
She says one kid tells one kid he needs to freeze the fat for Christmas.
There's another kid who, like, she doesn't even let sit on her lap. She like picks him up and is like, oh, you look super Jewish, right, Rachel? Okay, next. And I'm like, what is happening?
What else happens?
The one, she's like, oh, you kind of look like my girlfriend Brittany, and then she like kind of was like, yeah, it's like we broke up, talking to this like 6-year-old. That was one.
And we're lesbians. She says,
and we're lesbians.
She says,
I'm not even going to listen to what you want for Christmas. You should just wish for your dad to get a job with dental benefits because your mouth is jacked up.
Yeah.
That was just like, ooh, that's like...
These kids are traumatized.
Savage.
Yeah, especially because like kids' mouths can be jacked up because they're losing their teeth.
Yeah, they're not old enough for braces yet.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, to be fair, I feel like no mall Santa story ever starts off with, sat on his lap, no trauma, no crying, just took the picture and left.
Yeah, because literally, like, there's supposed to be like, you quickly do this thing, you get the picture taken, and then they're gone. Yeah. But like, kids will like don't want to go up. So maybe she looks more. I feel like she would look scarier.
Yeah, I mean,
because like you'd be like, who is this woman? She sounds really mean. Like you're like the next in line. You hear her going like you need to freeze your fat cells and like take off a couple pounds, and then you're like, I'm 6.
Yeah. Like,
you look like my ex-girlfriend.
Yeah, like the kind of trauma that's gonna cause.
Like, are the parents just kind of like, whatever?
They're New Yorkers. They're like,
so
raised on trauma.
None of these kids have their parents with them. That's how New York they are. They just let the kids do whatever they want.
Which I guess it's like more, I don't know. The whole like mall Santa culture thing, like I didn't have that growing up. I don't know. Like I'm a SoCal kid, so I feel like my little cousins in New Jersey, where it's like there's nothing much else to do when it's winter except for play in the snow for a few minutes, play inside, or maybe mom and dad will take me to the mall to run around.
Yeah.
I liked mall Santas as a kid. I thought it was fun, but it's also because my brother and sister were both scared of them when they were my age. So it was my big like, oh my gosh, you big babies. I can sit on Santa's lap. Like I'm not scared.
I don't really remember mall Santas. But I like what I do remember is I was a very shy child. I don't think I liked it.
My sister liked sitting on the Easter Bunny's lap, and my mom was baffled because she's like, one is like a regular person, just in a costume, and one is like a giant fake animal. To my mom, it was significantly creepier, but my sister was like, no, I like this.
I don't remember ever I don't remember doing any of the mall Santa things. It could be because like we couldn't afford doing the picture stuff, but also I feel like if I did it, I probably cried because I wouldn't want to be there.
Yeah.
I mean, my parents were also like, we don't want to do this. Like, we have better things to do.
That too, like
you have to wait in line, pay like a bunch of money for a picture,
and you have to wait around with other people's children.
Yeah,
you know,
I think
like
I remember like those little Christmas themed things that just sort of pop up. So they typically have like reindeer and Santa Claus and like things like that. They're not necessarily in a mall. I remember doing those.
Oh, like the photo studio things.
Yeah, kind of like that. And then there's like a petting zoo and like stuff like that. It's sort of all one thing, but it's not in a mall. Mm-hmm. I remember those. And it was still weird.
I never did Santa in a mall. I would usually do like, cause we'd have like St. Nicholas Day at church. So I would do that. And then I remember going to Domino Farms. Pretty sure that guy was racist or something. The guy who runs Domino's. I can't remember. There was drama with him.
Papa John's.
No, okay, Papa John's. But we went to the guy who owns Domino's is from Michigan. So there's like a big Domino's complex or whatever. And we went to see Santa.
Domino's Farms.
Yeah.
Like Domino's pizza.
Yeah.
Right. Because you plant pizza seeds in the ground and it grows full pizzas, and then they put it in the oven to heat it up, and that's like it's delivered to your door. Or you could pick it up and you get a $3 tip yourself.
Yeah.
Not sponsored. I keep seeing that fucking ad.
So I do remember that. So I do remember wetting myself there because we couldn't find the bathroom.
Oh.
The amount of what you remember astounds me.
We are kind of opposites in that way. And then I do remember one of my favorite moments. We were like hanging out with a bunch of our like friends growing up, and one of like some of the younger brothers were talking. I remember one of them being like, "Oh, do you ever go see Santa at Saks Fifth Avenue?" And the other kid was just like, "I'm homeschooled."
That's your like wild card to get out of awkward situations.
Yes, I'm homeschooled. Like, hey, at work, they're like, hey, can you do this spreadsheet? I'm homeschooled.
I'm homeschooled. I don't.
What's the number?
Sorry, no, I was homeschooled.
Okay, so the Santa's not there again, and then she traumatizes a bunch of children. For once, Rachel doesn't ask to be the star role.
That is interesting.
Yeah, and then this shirtless Santa appears, or this open shirt Santa.
They go like behind the set and are like trying to escape.
And he's like, I'm a Santa and I like sexual innuendos. I really don't remember this conversation.
He's wearing suspenders and a jacket, no shirt, and a hat. He has a hat on.
That means, so they're like, hey, can you take care of this? He shows up as if like he is the replacement Santa,
but he leaves at the end of the scene.
That's what I thought. Like he was,
or does he go out there? Because he says, yeah, I'll take care of it. Because literally at the end of the sequence, Rachel says, oh yeah, like the mall didn't even know about him and stuff like that. So like he did something with those kids. Like he went out there and like tried to handle the situation. Because the parents like complained to the mall because Rachel said something about it.
This is a fascinating storyline to me, but I want to see more of the nitty gritty. Like what exactly went down with the children?
I don't want that.
I do and I don't want to know.
I feel like I want to
see
it in it to be a joke, but not to be like offensive. Which is a lot. It's asking a lot.
I feel like all he probably did was he probably just like went out there and was Santa because he was shirtless and like handsome and didn't have a beard. It was really weird for the parents.
I mean, I feel like when Santana stepped out as like, like Mrs. Claus or something.
Yeah,
like
Mrs.
like, oh, I'm Santa's new hot wife or whatever.
Yeah.
And there was like, I remember there was like 3 parents. There was like 2 moms being like, what?
And then a dad.
Like, one of the dad was like, yeah, Mrs. Claus.
Oh, I totally missed that.
No, I remember that.
Yeah, it was like a split second thing, but it was like, of course, like.
And there was a cut scene of Megyn Kelly being like, Mrs. Claus isn't Latina. That's a fact. That's history.
And she's old.
It would be interesting to see a cutscene of like a kid on the new Santa's lap being like, oh, now it makes sense why Mrs. Claus was so young.
Yeah, they've seen the Santa Claus, so they know that Santa gets murdered and replaced by whoever murders him. Yeah.
Right, the Tim Allen movie. Got it.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe the moms now are like, okay, Mr. Claus.
Yeah, and then that dad goes, boo.
Yeah, now the dad's just like,
Or the dad's like, yeah.
Bisexual icon, random dad from the background of Glee.
Yes.
That's the representation we want. That's Disney level representation. So yeah. So he's like, yeah, I like to get to know my elves and like.
Which is weird.
That he invites himself to their house. I'm like,
Yep.
That is red flag number 5 in this conversation, honestly.
yeah, it was very like, okay, I mean.
The fact that they said yes is what?
Yeah, like
hot.
Santana would never. Santana would be like, why would we invite this random Santa guy? He's shirtless, for goodness sakes, to your apartment. Like she would be like, what are you doing?
They acknowledge that she was lesbian, but they're like, for the sake of the plot, she's basically not lesbian right now.
Yeah, she's
attracted to him.
Like she said some weird line, which was very like cringy in some ways, where it's like, I may be a lesbian, but my girl loving vagina kind of interested or whatever.
Yeah.
Or it was like, okay, so you're gonna make Santana like that, like, what do they call it? Conditional lesbian or something, like in a porno?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, because that's basically what they're doing.
Yeah, it was very like weird, like porn, like introduction scene or something.
Yeah.
It did feel like that.
Where it's like, this is very cheesy, like very like interesting, like character things, and also a lot of sketchiness that we're just gonna stick
Gloss
under the
right
rug.
over. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, I guess a bunch of 18-year-olds from Ohio in New York would be that clueless.
Yeah, you know what? He's hot. And you know what? I could probably say that at that age, if I thought some guy was really, really hot, or a woman actually, well, I don't know, because at that point I was pretty closeted. But if I saw a hot person, I might be more inclined to trust them. Like, that's kind of just like, I think it's something that like, if you look handsome or attractive conventionally, you're more likely to be trusted. So yeah.
Because wasn't Kurt also like bouncing back from like a breakup with Blaine?
Yes, he was.
Yeah.
He was cheated on by Blaine cheated on him with a guy whose profile picture was a lighthouse.
And I need to find it again. I saw a meme that someone made, like, you know, the girlfriend meme, right? Where, like, the girl walking by and the boyfriend turning.
Yes.
And it's like Kurt and Blaine and like a lighthouse.
Yeah.
Like,
Blaine is the guy turning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm like, so someone else caught on to that.
Or they listened
to Gleeboot and made that meme.
If you're a secret fan of Gleeboot, please out yourself. We'd love to hear from you.
Yeah. Okay. So
at the apartment.
So yeah, I guess Kurt's like deciding to live it up again, have sexy Santa come over to his apartment.
Yeah.
And have alcohol with underage people and someone who I'm assuming is probably overage. He looks like he's like late 20s, early 30s.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they're drinking and chatting, and he's like very obviously looking at all their stuff.
Yeah, he's acing the joint for like real hard. And he like Santana, not Santa. She asks like, oh, what's in your sack? I don't think she said that exactly, and that was like a missed opportunity for humor.
It was very like innuendo-y, like, What tricks do you have in your sack?
Yeah, it was. Oof, yeah. And then he pulls out. He's like, "Oh yeah, I do parties," and he pulls out like a bunch of Mylar balloons, which I'm like, "Is this guy like a clown?" And then he pulls out a full-on tank of helium. I was like, "What?"
Yeah,
in that Santa sack?
Yeah, and like he also kind of, I mean, he wasn't too subtle about it, where he was like, "Oh yeah, like I do like all kinds of things, like
Yeah, he pulls out
birthday parties,
bachelor
parties, bachelor parties." He pulls out like a gold Speedo or whatever, among his other things.
And like, wouldn't you be wearing it underneath the Santa suit?
Yeah, I guess they were like,
because otherwise you have to take all your clothes off, put it on, and then like you've already done this stripping.
Maybe it's his backup.
It's his backup gold Speedo.
Yeah.
He has a silver and a gold.
Yeah.
Silver and gold.
Yeah.
Silver
Silver
and
is
gold.
for Christmas. Gold is for New Year's.
Yeah. Gold is for Journey to Regionals. Yeah. So he pulls out this full ass tank of helium and he's like, "Do you do requests? You all know each other from high school Glee club." And what? I'm gonna kink shame this man. Imagine going to an apartment of 3 18-year-old theater kids and being like, "Can you do helium and sing Christmas, Christmas, or whatever?
It was
Christmas Don't Be Late for Me?"
Alvin and the Chipmunks.
He's like trying to get their trust. And so like through the lens of that, I'm like, these kids are starved for human contact if that's the thing they end up like going for. Like, yeah, of course they'll sing this really weird song. I hated every minute of it.
Prison Squeakquel.
I'm pretty sure it was not any of them singing.
No, they probably just high-pitched their voice.
No, I'm pretty sure it was the original song, and the only part they changed was
Kurt.
Yeah, it was the man saying the lines.
You think so?
Yep. Pretty sure.
They've done like the helium trick, and your voice does not sound like theirs did.
It doesn't.
No. And you have to constantly keep taking in more helium.
I've heard that song before. Like, it sounds exactly the same as the original, except for the man talking to Kurt.
Also,
yeah, I could see that. I could see it both ways. Like, I could see maybe they
they have to pay for the rights anyway.
Yeah.
Why would they go to the trouble?
Like a cover of Alvin and the Chipmunks is kind of seems like a low point for Glee. Like I know Cullen and I have talked a little bit about like our mutual like fixation on like the car wreck that is like Alvin and the Chipmunks.
Yes, you sent me that meme that was like, imagine having a dance off with a Chipettes. How bored would you have to fucking be?
This is like back-to-back lows for this series because they did What the Fox Say last week and then it's this song this week.
Yeah, and all the while I was thinking I could have had my parents watch this. They would have disowned me. They'd been like, you know, we could deal with the gay thing, but making us watch this, you're dead to us. Yeah, and I wouldn't have even blamed them. I'd be like, you know what? I'm dead to me too. Yeah. It was that. What were you gonna say, Derek?
I also like looked up like a recap thing. I can pull up the article right now. It's on for anyone interested in looking this up. It is on hypeable.com, and they kind of go into this scene a little bit. Because I was trying to look for like previous context clues. It's like what these characters are doing. And they sort of say like, yeah, during this very bizarre number, they sort of like play around with like these streamers and stuff, kind of hinting at like, maybe they had an orgy or something. And yeah, I kind of read that and I was just kind of like, okay, I feel like a Victorian child who's just been introduced to Glee. Like someone time traveled back and was like, "This is Glee."
You know what? And that's why World War I did happen. Yeah. That
can you
caused that chain of events.
legally have an orgy and have all your clothes on when you wake up, including your boots? I don't like. It's so weird because after all of this time, doing this song, and then they wake up and they have like Rachel and Santana have horrible hangovers. Also, the fact that Rachel made Santana sleep on the floor and not like let her share the bed, like. Kind of a rude friend thing.
At least
I have literally shared a bed with someone and gotten up and like taken a blanket because I think Rachel just probably thrashes around in her sleep. And Santana was like, "Fuck this, I'm on the floor." I've done that.
Yeah.
But at least that person was like, "Hey, do you want to share the bed so you don't have to sleep on the floor?" Right?
Yeah.
I believe that Rachel was like, "Okay, you can sleep on the floor. Here's my comforter." But anyway, so they do that, and then they hear like moaning, and they run over, and their first reaction to Kurt being bound is like,
this doesn't happen yet.
They have to walk in on them first.
They walk in on Kurt and Santa.
Sorry, I was getting to the point of them
Myrna Turkey.
Being asleep already.
Yeah.
What is it? So right after the song,
I forgot about.
They like pass out and then they wake up, and then
no, they're still drinking.
No, they've just been drinking. They didn't pass out because when they pass out, that's when they find Kurt bound.
Okay, so they come in and Kurt's like hooking up with the Santa, and he's like jealous, and he's like, "I go both ways," and they toast to Christmas or whatever.
Yeah. But then the girls wake up and they have all their clothes on. Like,
that's the point. The point where they toast. Like, I was like, "Oh, this is gonna turn into an orgy."
Well, also,
that's what I thought.
So they toast, and then like when they wake up, Santana literally was like, "Yeah, this feels like when I was roofied at Lilith Fair." And I'm like, "Okay, so this guy roofied you guys?"
That's what I was thinking too. I was like, "What?"
Here's the thing: Rachel will never do an orgy. Nothing. They're Glee characters that would do an orgy, not Rachel and Kurt.
But if they were roofied, she
wouldn't have a choice.
Yeah.
Because Glee characters that would do an orgy, definitely Santana, Brittany, Sam, Blaine, maybe Tina.
Blaine, you think so?
I think Blaine would.
I don't know about Blaine.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I would say over Blaine. Yes.
Yeah. He was kind of into the Tina thing. Remember when he was doing the puppet?
Oh,
the puppet rubbing his chest? Yeah.
Well, some people, they go through their trauma differently. I don't know what's happening there. But anyway, yeah, so I don't think they had an orgy because they're like fully clothed. And you'd have, there's no way you can put all your clothes back on again and be like made up. Anyway. Then they find him bound and they're like interested. They're like, "Ooh, what happened?" Not like freaked out, right?
I was
right?
Completely freaked out.
I mean, I get it.
Yeah, because
he was in distress.
Like, is Kurt like been like into the whole like bound and gagged thing before?
No.
Such a clean cut.
This is the thing though. They walk through the living room first when all of their shit is taken. So they know they've been stolen from. Then they find Kurt bound.
Oh, true. Yeah, that makes sense.
So am I remembering this wrong then? Like, I could have sworn like they walked in on him. Maybe I'm mixing up the two scenes. That they walked in on them making out and they were like, "Ooh."
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe that's what it is. Okay.
Yeah, because he's bound up in his underwear.
He's hogtied and has
tinsel.
like a ball gag in his mouth.
Yeah. And they're like, he was like playing rough, and I was kind of into it, but then he wanted to do something that Kurt
role play with Kurt as the reindeer.
And Kurt was sort of into it, but then he wanted to do something else, right?
Yeah, he's basically like when I stopped being into it, he stopped being so jolly.
Yeah.
Because you have to have Christmas puns when you're talking about a traumatic thing that just happened to you.
Yeah. It kind of reminds me of those tweets sometimes where it's like, if I'm hooking up with someone and like, I don't feel satisfied, like, I didn't get to that point, but they did. I'm robbing something and leaving. I don't know. But
yeah,
it didn't feel like that either.
It's so strange.
Yeah.
I don't understand what the point, because honestly, like genuinely the point of it is supposed to be like when you come down to it, because like Rachel basically like she's the one who goes to the mall and like reports to Santa or whatever.
And he robbed the mall too.
Yeah, he robbed the mall.
Says, "Oh, needless to say, our services won't be at the Midtown Mall anymore." But I'm like, how would the mall being robbed have anything to do with that?
Like, why would they be
I don't know. Maybe because they're the ones who were like, yes, you be Santa.
But this whole thing is treated pretty lightheartedly when like it's not lighthearted at all.
No.
But that's why then you go back and you think that they were never robbed in the main timeline. That's why I say these events did not happen.
That's exactly. I think you're right in that like there's no way. I mean, there obviously is a way, but I just don't think that like they would be able to
recover financially.
Recover financially, but also like emotionally, like they were literally manipulated by this older man. Like I feel like why would Santana want to move in after this incident happened?
Yeah, exactly.
Like it's so weird.
Yeah, because then Kurt is like, you should move in with us, and she's like, I don't know, what about Louisville? And then Rachel's like, I got us another job, and we'll be protected by bulletproof glass. And then they're singing in the end when they're singing Away in a Manger, they're dressed up as singing storefront people.
Yeah, they're like Rachel and Santana are wearing these like prom, like red carpet outfits. Kurt's in like a tuxedo and top hat thing. It's like, is this some kind of like capitalist shrine kind of thing? It's like, I'm not reading Christmas from this. I'm reading like prom.
It is really weird. There's also a little girl who like looks up at Rachel and like is smiling, and I was like, oh yeah, she's thinking about growing up, becoming an actress, and like this is her job.
Yeah.
Being a singing mannequin in a storefront.
Yeah, if I saw singing like people in a storefront, I would put my blinders on. I would not look at them. I would move past.
Yeah, I mean,
no way.
It's like, it could be a cool like stunt or something, like in Disneyland where you like go see that storefront and the windows where it's like the little animatronics and stuff.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like I could see that being a cool gimmick. Like I can remember, I mean, it's New York City too, so they love to do those kinds of things. Like I can remember one time I was in New York and there was like, I walked by the American Girl store and they had like some of the dolls like maybe like weird like little animatronic Christmas scenes or whatever.
Right.
You know, like all buck teeth and everything. Just like, you can't afford us. So that could be cool. But it was like, also, they're singing, behind a window.
How do they hear?
Acoustics?
Like, are there speakers? Is it just like...
And it's like, wow, they sound like shit.
I also love
like they're just standing there singing like is this bulletproof? It's bulletproof glass. Like maybe if they have speakers or something. I don't know. It's just a very like, whose idea was this? I don't know. This weird like they're singing like a Jesus song, Christmas time, but
they're wearing prom dresses.
Yeah, they're wearing like prom clothes in like a very non-religious looking setting.
Rachel's also having like this spiritual moment with this little girl while singing a song about Jesus, and I'm like, you are Jewish.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just very off mark to me.
I guess they're like, let's give them to experience this episode that's not traumatic.
Yeah.
I don't know. Singing in a glass box could be kind of traumatic for me.
Yeah.
But I mean, if I'm getting paid, it would still be traumatic, but I get a paycheck.
I mean, also the whole living manger thing at the high school too. It's so very like, why? Like,
is this allowed?
Are you guys doing like a show that one night? If it's a thing that they're just going to do for Christmas Eve and then it's like, okay, Merry Christmas, everybody, we're done. But is it like, okay, we're gonna do this like for the next few weeks?
They're doing 8 shows a
like,
week Broadway schedule.
December 15th through the 2nd of January.
Yeah. It's like, all right, show up at 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. We're doing this.
Don't go to school.
Don't
3
go to
shows
school.
a day.
Perfect segue.
Okay, they're doing a Christmas tree decorating contest.
That Sue clearly points out is like, we didn't do last year or the year before or the year before that. And I was like, great. I'm glad we're all on the same page. I was totally fine with that. Yeah, she literally was like, yeah, it's like the annual tradition. I'm like, I'm fine with this. Like, you called it out. That's fine. I can live with that.
And even if they didn't, they do always decorate a tree. So I would have believed that it happened off screen.
True. Yeah.
Of all their stretches. Yeah, I was like, okay. And he put Sam and Tina in charge of it. And Tina is like, we need to get this angel because it was from 1200s Europe and it can grant wishes and like bring good luck, especially a boyfriend and prom queen dreams.
But wait, did prom happen already?
No, because this is Christmas.
Oh, right. Okay, got it. I keep forgetting it's Christmas. Also, I thought it was plastic. Doesn't Becky say later that it's a plastic?
It is plastic.
Yeah.
So Tina just like is projecting all of this stuff onto it.
Yes.
Interesting. Okay. All right, Tina, go off.
And Sam is like, the theme is green. We're gonna do eco-friendly stuff. We're gonna get LED lights in Kitty's light from the LED bush back in the back. So Tina's like, we have to win this or something. She like basically screams at them or something.
Yes, she's very gung-ho about winning this.
And we're just like, okay. And Will's like, I have no control over this classroom. And then Sam's talking about, like we can use the streamers from the forest, from the Hispanic people's birthday parties.
Yeah, like the Mylar balloons that say like, Feliz Cumpleaños.
Talking about
he says.
Foraging in the forest for basically junk.
Trash.
Yeah.
And they're like, you're gonna cut down a tree. Yeah, he's gonna get antlers. And then Becky comes up to them and is like, this is mistletoe, and I need both of you to French me right now. Asian and former stripper or something. She calls him something.
Yeah, she has like a hat with mistletoe, which I guess isn't mistletoe.
It's poison sumac, as Sue points out.
Yep.
Don't know the difference. And I guess now I should. I will never use this information.
Also, like Sue later on like comes to the Glee Club to check out their tree, and she like grills like Tina and Sam about that. They're like, oh, like it's this kind of tree, and these kind of birds like migrate, like feeding off of these trees, and like there's a certain type of like hamster
rodent.
Off this,
the vole, yeah,
a vole, which is a hamster.
Which I remember very weirdly because it was like, and she's like, okay, so you cut down the street. Where's the vole? And like Sam like pulls it
like,
out of the back pocket.
It came to live with us, and I was like.
Yeah.
And Sam, we're not even sure where you're living.
He pulled it out of his, back pocket, which, it's a very like
not a good place for a hamster.
So she does grill them, and then she makes some joke about like, are you gonna fill the tree with dental dams and pamphlets and condoms and things that will fly off to go audition for Niata.
And she like dances down the hallway. It was great.
Yeah, but she's like, Becky, stop, because they're like, you can't just like force us to kiss you, Becky. She's like, yes, I can. And then she like, Sue comes up, she calls, what did she call Tina? I don't remember. Something offensive.
Asian number one.
Asian number one.
I actually thought she was Asian number 2 per the Purple Piano Project episode. I thought she was Asian number 2. So I guess it's good to know.
Not anymore. Because
either she got an upgrade or she always was Asian number 1. I don't know.
She calls Sam the hobo mixed stripper or something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I guess that's a plot point that I don't know about.
Sam used to be a stripper when he was 16 years old.
Okay, so
Yep. And they use it as a joke now in the show because that's hilarious.
yeah, of course. According to BuzzFeed, that's my boyfriend, the former high school stripper.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Because Tina's like, you can let Becky get away with murder at this school. Valid.
Not a great line because she does bring a gun to school.
Yep.
Oh, fucking.
Yep.
Wrote that down, and I was like, you can't say that shit, Tina.
And then so Sue is like, you're right. I've been too easy on her.
And then Sam is like, yeah, you need to get her like sex addiction counseling. And Sue's like, I know, thank you. Like, which also isn't her responsibility. Like, where are Becky's parents?
Where are they?
They exist because Artie talked to them the other day.
And her dad is the one who had the gun that she brought to school.
Yep.
Who doesn't practice good gun safety.
Yeah. Yeah, but Becky is very unsettling. Yeah. We'll just leave it at that.
Becky. I don't know.
So she leaves to go take like a milkweed shower or something, and Sue is like, I'm judging the tree and I can't wait to put yours last. But then she comes in. I think they sing something while decorating the tree.
Yes.
Rocking around the Christmas
tree. It's not a good cover. It's very boring.
And like obviously all of the things they went and foraged from the forest are like Hobby Lobby.
Yeah, I'm like, they foraged at Home Goods.
Yeah, foraged in quotes.
We get a lot of Marley Jake content. A lot of them singing together.
Did we? I didn't even notice.
I did not notice that either.
It was pretty boring. Like it was pretty like, can't wait for this to be over. And then Sam and Blaine are like fighting with like giant sticks.
Yeah, it's a Hobby Lobby bundle of decor.
Oh, I was just noticing that like the other clubs also had their own trees, and it was very much like it's like whoever designed these trees, the Glee Club was obviously heavily favored because it's like, well, theirs was all like nature. You know, it was very understated. It was like, okay, this is passable. The other ones were very much like bongs and lighters for the 420 Club, which
would they even allow to happen at
jock straps and athletic cups, presumably used on the tree for the football team, and Beast participated.
Yep.
Yeah. That woman really is like doing the Lord's work, letting these children. She's like, okay, I mean, if that's what you guys want to do, we're gonna do it.
Yeah. They could have made a spin-off series, just Beast and the Jocks.
Honestly, I would have preferred a whole episode dedicated to them instead of all this.
Yeah. Yes, we would have preferred literally anything other than what we got with this. So Beast, whatever. So they're decorating, and then they come in and they're humming "Oh Christmas Tree," and like Sam and Tina are talking to her, and we kind of went over this conversation, but she's like, "Oh God, you're still humming." But she's like, yeah, it's really nice. So then she interrupts Will's class, in the middle of it. And
she is Sue.
Yeah, Sue. And Will is like, oh. And then she announces that it's like the 420 Club, the football team, and then the Glee Club wins.
Which was actually kind of surprising.
Because didn't she list judge 3 clubs?
Yeah.
As runner-ups, and then the Glee Club won? I actually thought that the Glee Club had lost.
2
clubs as runner-up. Glee Club won. Becky wasn't listed at all.
So can we talk about Becky's tree for a second?
It's just green shit that she got from the dumpster.
Green
Perfect
colors.
for St. Patrick's Day, in my opinion. But no tree.
I thought it was very innovative. It was green because she said it was all recycled, because she got it from like the dumpster. I was like, she said it's recycled. And I was like, very innovative.
Yeah. The definition of green to me is still a color. So I understand where Becky is coming from.
I do too.
No one ever said that green was supposed to be like recycling eco-friendly. No one said that.
And she did both.
She did.
She did. But she's like, Becky.
She understood the assignment.
Sue was like, Becky, this is lazy or whatever. And Becky's like, yeah, I wanted to go watch something on Showtime.
Gigolos or something?
Gigolos on Showtime. So I did it half-assed, okay? And when Becky finds out she didn't win, she does throw a xylophone. Do you love that funny gag?
It's a great, and then like she's not even sorry. She just kind of like shrugs after she does it. Because Sue's on like the loudspeaker giving the announcement, and she throws it, and like Sue's trying to like cover the sound, and then she goes, "Everything's okay. No one's been injured."
So the Glee Club wins, but then Sam and Tina feel bad for Becky because she gives them her baby teeth, which are supposed to represent the pure love of baby Jesus. And she's like, I feel like a loser like you guys.
I don't understand. Like, what? What you just explained? What?
That's what happened. I don't know how to, like, I can't make it make sense.
It doesn't make any sense. I think it was like her, like, did Sue give her a talk and then she like decided to go apologize to Tina and Sam? I don't know.
Yeah. Nothing makes sense.
Probably off screen.
Nothing.
It made no sense.
And then like Sam and Tina decide to make it up to Becky. But they're like, no.
They don't need to make it up to Becky. That's the thing, is Becky was just garbage to them. And then she felt kind of bad and gave them her baby teeth. And the glass angel is just, as Sue says, a plastic angel made by a Filipino child slave.
Yeah.
I don't know why they wanted to give it to Becky. I don't know why Becky gave them baby teeth. I don't know.
Well, because they're like, we're gonna give it to Becky because she seems really down. And Artie's like, that's only kind of condescending. And I'm like, it's mostly just condescending.
Yeah.
And so they do, and then Becky's like happy, I guess. I don't even remember the scene. I'm like,
and then they're like, hey, we have a part for you in this other storyline that we've been involved.
My god.
So,
and we'll talk about that when we get to
now. We're done with the tree stuff, right?
Yeah, the tree.
So we have this. There's a Christmas club, which Artie points out is mainly the Glee Club, and the nativity scene has been defaced with swastikas and satanic symbols.
Why is there a nativity scene at a public school?
Yeah, so I was confused. Was it at the school or was it like a community thing?
Well, they shoved baby Jesus down Figgins' chimney. I think it was the public school.
I think it's the school.
Well, you can't do that at a public school.
Why would a public club be doing a community nativity?
Well, I mean, if you're like
public school club.
Well, I mean, we did like singing for choir at like different locations and stuff, and we did like a Christmas themed thing that was for the community. It wasn't specifically for the school. So like,
but was it a nativity?
No, but like if like I guess it would have to be like church related, but like, I mean, I could see that happening, that like a club decides to help out like a community organization, but you can't have a nativity scene on like school property. I don't think that's something you can do.
No, because they find out, they're like, why do we have it at a public school? And Beast is just kind of like,
Yeah, like
I miss that.
Like even if like, in this Lima, Ohio place was like 99.99% like Christian. I don't know. It's very why?
My church is, I'm not sure with the nativity scene or the Holy Family statue. It was defaced when I was growing up with swastikas and 666s.
That's gross.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's horrible.
Yeah. So that does happen, but not to public school nativities because those do not exist.
Yeah. See, I had totally glossed over that. I just assumed it was like a local church had been defaced and they're like, you know what, we're going to stand up for Jesus. Well, no. And then I thought like, oh, it's a chance for us to be in the spotlight. That's what I gleaned from it.
Yeah. And then they're like, Jake is going to be Joseph because Joseph too was a dark-skinned Jew.
I think it was a darkly tanned.
Yes, okay. Darkly tanned.
Yeah.
Darkly tanned. Yeah.
And Jake's like, okay.
I mean, I understand the logic there, but pretty offensive.
Yeah. Also, why did they have to have like the high school students just kind of like stand there, kind of like, because it seems to be the case where it's like, okay, Becky, put your head into this manger with a little baby Jesus doll under your head.
So
and we're just gonna stand here where it's like, okay, now the nativity scene's here, statue mode.
Yeah, like a living nativity would mean that like they're like, I would assume acting out the scene.
Yes.
Not singing Christmas carols.
I was a donkey as a toddler. I was Mary's donkey in the Christmas nativity. I did think I sat right in front of baby Jesus and looked.
You know what's funny? I think I played Mary, and I rode on one of the adults in the church who was like a family friend, because he was the donkey because he had to carry like a child, and we couldn't have another child sitting another child. That would just be bad. Yeah, I like am suddenly now remembering that. Also, I feel like it's super weird to put children in that situation of being the Virgin Mary. I'm just gonna say that.
Well, like,
feels weird.
To me, like when children are doing a nativity play, like the concept of virgin, like you just hear it, but you don't really know what it means.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
But it's
like,
just like a person in a story that you know.
Yeah, but like if you're an adult watching this, it's like, they don't know this yet, but that's kind of weird.
I guess. Yeah. I like, to me, it's like a cute tradition. Like lots of different cultures have things where they kind of reenact the story, you know?
Yeah. But like we can say, because we already spoiled that Becky's baby Jesus. That's pretty condescending to put the person with special needs as the infant.
Yeah.
Right?
Most have a baby doll or an actual baby.
Correct.
Yeah.
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 So, yeah, I don't know. Just bring back to my Catholic school background a little bit of like, we had like a Christmas pageant one time when I was in kindergarten. It was like, I don't know, I don't think they introduced her as like the Virgin Mary, but they were like Mary.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Well, I also, I come from a Methodist background. I don't think they would ever say the word virgin in front of us. So yeah, I think it was Mary, not the Virgin Mary.
Yeah.
I think virgin in this episode is like played up to the maximum because we're talking about Kitty.
It's so weird.
Yeah.
And Marley, yeah, it's weird.
Yeah, we'll get into that.
I should play a Virgin Mary because I'm a virgin. Like,
yeah, it was so weird. Marley, it's just something like who's gonna play the Virgin Mary? She's like, I'm a virgin. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, the Marley I know, I don't think she would just like shout that out in the middle of class.
Like, you don't have to be a prince to play Hamlet. Like, what does that have to do with anything?
Excellent point.
Yeah. And then Kitty's like, to think no one's tickled around in those granny panties of yours except for the family of grasshoppers that lives there. And then Marley's like, I wear a bigger bra than you.
And then Unique in the background is like, oh shit.
Yeah, and then they're like, girls, stop fighting. We need to like do this for the community.
Okay, I have a question. Is this like weird obsession with like, I wear a larger bra than you? I've only seen this strange obsession with like women comparing breast sizes in anime.
I think it's a male gaze thing because as a woman, I don't envy larger breasts because I know that can be painful for people, because I've had people in my life who've just been like, it literally hurts.
I envy people with smaller breasts.
Yeah.
Because of that reason.
So I feel like this like, I wear larger breasts. Like, I don't know if that is really a thing. It could be, like, it honestly could be, but I've never experienced it. I don't think I've ever heard anyone.
I've never participated.
I also have heard people being like, oh, like, I wish I had better, like, bigger boobs. But I don't think it's necessarily like a competition thing. It's more like, I would rather have bigger boobs, not like, oh yeah, I have bigger boobs than you.
I was thinking as I was driving, because we'll get into this storyline, I was like, I feel like the way they write the Christians in Glee is if they've heard of Christianity, but they've never had any direct experiences with it.
Like Kitty.
Yeah. And I'm like, but I also could say that's how they write women. as if they've heard of women but never experienced them. And I'm like, that's really how they write anything other than a straight male. We've heard of this. And maybe a gay male. Maybe I'll give them gay male. But like we've heard of this. I've never experienced it, but I guess Black people are a thing. So here's Mercedes.
That's a great way to phrase it. And the tonation was Emmy worthy.
Up there with Darren Chris's Kurt puppet.
Yeah, no, it is weird because I remember hearing that and I'm like, what? It passed because I was focused on Unique's reaction. I was like, why are you reacting that way?
And then Tina's like screaming multiple times because she's like, Christmas is canceled. Christmas is saved. I'm like, Jen Ushkowitz, you collect that paycheck.
Yeah, seriously.
She's like, I'll do whatever random shit you ask. Okay. And then, so then they're gonna audition, and Marley's asking Kitty if she wants to do the audition with them. And I think she does something transphobic, and then she's like, because she's like, yeah, his genitals will be flapping around. And then she's like, and they're not gonna cast a Chinese girl as Mary.
And then Marley says, I think Tina's Korean. Now, we have discussed many a time on the show. Now I'm confused.
Tina is written
as
in
Chinese.
Season 1 as Chinese.
She references dim sum, which is Chinese.
And then also they reference it as dim sum, like for dinner, and dim sum is like breakfast time, right? So
again, they've heard of Asian people.
But apparently they exist. So like, let's talk.
Did they just like decide to switch her to Korean after she sings Gangnam Style?
See, that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking that they're starting to strip the Chineseness from Tina and force her into being Korean because the actor is Korean. Or they forgot that she's actually Chinese. And so then like they're doing the PC thing where like, oh, Kitty's clearly racist. And Marley's like, I think she's Korean. Or off screen, Tina did Ancestry DNA and found out that she was actually Korean. That's my
so many
headcanon.
possibilities.
Maybe Tina's character, like her dad's Chinese and her mom's Korean.
Yeah, she finds out like, oh, look, I'm part Korean. Like maybe she finds out she's adopted, and like one of her parents who is Chinese, actually she's biologically Korean. Like,
you know, they're actually Season 1, there was supposed to be an adoption storyline with Tina that was cut about Tina being adopted.
We'll never know.
Interesting. Yeah, so this was really weird because like typically when like a correction like this happens, we're supposed to be siding with the person who corrects because the person who is saying the wrong thing is racist. But Kitty's right.
Yep.
So I don't know what to believe anymore.
And she's like, yeah, Kitty, I know you really want this. So then Kitty's watching them audition with, I've heard the song before.
I thought it was ABBA, and turns out it's not.
It is Mary's Little Boy Child by Harry Belafonte, but the Boney M version.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think that's who did the song. Yeah. So I wrote in my notes, because when they're auditioning, Shue is there. So it's Shue, Artie, and Beast judging.
Mm-hmm.
And Shue says possibly the worst line he has ever said. I'm here to judge your potential virgins. There are some reactions to that where people are like, what the fuck? But then it just is glossed over and they go right into the number.
It's giving me very Emperor's New Groove. Hate the hair, and let me guess, you have a great personality. When he's like, Highness, it's time to choose your bride. I'm choosing to go with that instead of like some hairs.
But they literally like, they come out and then like they do this number, but like the number, like they're kind of like in these like disco outfits, and I'm like, have they met Mary? I'm confused. Like she would never wear this.
Also, for a high school production, like they have Unique in this, like, you know, I mean, it didn't look like it was a very flattering outfit for her.
They never ever give Unique flattering outfits.
Nope. They
and the
actually
other
that's a good point.
These like leotards with like, you know, leggings and stuff, which is still a little bit like, a little like, okay, you're gonna like take off these robes and have these like leotard things. It's a little, I mean, high school TV show.
It's the outfits are a choice.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, no, I think that there is sometimes a problem with giving unique like outfits that make sense for her character and then also that makes sense with everyone else's outfits. Like they don't always completely match the girls' outfits.
They did this to Mercedes.
Sometimes not flattering.
They did it to Mercedes though too, where they don't, because someone who's bigger, they like want to cover them up because like we shouldn't be able to know that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
which like
that's a good point.
Like I would get if a specific actor was like, hey, I'm not comfortable with like maybe like this showing. Could I do something else? They're like, yeah, sure. But it happened with Lauren, Mercedes, and Unique. So it's a pattern.
And it wasn't always like flattering choices.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. So like that's where it's like, yeah, I don't think we really talk about that as much now because I think Unique is the only larger person in the cast right now, like the main cast. You can only have one at a time.
Yeah. So Kitty walks out, and so because like any more last auditions?
Yeah, she's appalled. Kitty is literally
like why are
mouth agape?
I actually thought they would be seriously like trying to audition for Virgin Mary.
Yeah.
None of this is anywhere even close to what generally is her characterization.
Yeah, and I do. There's a lot of emphasis on Virgin, and in this Bible story, it's remarkable that she's pregnant and a virgin. Yeah. But the fact that she's a virgin isn't that remarkable because she's supposed to be like 14 and unmarried.
Well, at that time.
No, that was around when they got married. So like she's unmarried.
Right. But like.
So it's not like, it's crazy she's pregnant. It's not like, oh my gosh, she's a virgin. It's like, you're a pregnant virgin. That's the weird thing.
Yeah. Like even Romeo and Juliet.
She gets, but she's pregnant before she's married.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. There's like a whole thing. I mean, I remember in Romeo and Juliet, like we did the play in high school or whatever. There's literally like a moment when Juliet's mother is like, what the hell's wrong with you? You're 14 years old. Like when I was your age, I was already married and I had you.
Yikes. Oh,
big
history was crazy. So kind of to go back to like the Kitty thing, like when she walks out, like I was actually expecting that Kitty was gonna get up there and like sing like an a cappella, like very sweet thing. I was not expecting Beast and everyone to be so excited about this trio, the way they sang. I was like, that doesn't seem very merry. And then I figured Kitty was gonna be like, and like, no, this is how you do it. But then it changes into something totally different. I was like, lame. I would have preferred Kitty to have been like singing away in a manger very peacefully and very stripped down, not sexually.
Yeah, that's where I also thought the storyline was going, and they did not go there.
So then,
if we were forced at gunpoint to have this episode, that's how the Gleeboot was.
Because honestly, the Kitty and her journey with the Virgin Mary is like the only like slightly interesting salvageable aspect of the episode.
Because like as much as I was kind of making fun of it, like embody the spirit of the Virgin Mary, I was like, what does that mean in general? But there is something interesting about that, considering like she's like evil incarnate in this series until she's not really, like she's still not nice all the time, but she's better. So yeah, I definitely think that like I wanted to know more about that, but instead we didn't.
So they put up the cast list, Marley's cast as Virgin Mary, and she's like,
Shocker.
Kitty's like, Virgin Marley is the Virgin Mary. And Marley's like, well, like I asked if you want to audition, and then Kitty's like, I know I'm a Christian. I know what it's like to have the spirit of the Virgin Mary in your heart, and I don't.
What does that mean? Is that a thing?
Here is where I would like to say, the Glee writers have heard of Christians.
Yes.
They've not experienced that. Because
I was so confused.
I am still confused as to what denomination Quinn was and then what Kitty is. Because, okay, just quick, I'm going to try and keep this brief because the episode's been long. So Quinn was part of the Abstinence Club, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
She references the C word, like contraception as being a bad thing. That is specifically that's not a Protestant thing. That's a Catholic thing that they don't do contraception. So maybe but then they reference things like a chastity ball, which is more of an evangelical thing. And then
I think she was evangelical Christian.
Yeah. And then
because also contraception is not accepted in evangelical Christian.
Okay. But then when she's dating Sam, they're making out and there's statues of the Virgin Mary. So that implies Catholic.
Yes.
Yeah.
So then
maybe Judy was a Catholic and she had like her Virgin Mary, and that was the only thing that whatever her husband let her have, like whatever his name was.
Russell.
And, yeah, but she was like forced into being like evangelical Baptist or something.
We love Judy here, so we love that.
We love Judy
for
Fabre. Love her.
So now we have Kitty. Kitty has referenced Bible camp and speaking in tongues, and even more specifically, concepts of tribulation, post-tribulation, the end times, the Left Behind series. Very like, Protestant.
Yeah, and like Protestant. Fundamentalism,
mm-hmm. Yeah,
evangelical Christian.
My experience with those groups is if we so much as imply the Virgin Mary was anything other than a womb that birthed Jesus, if we imply that she knew what was going on in any way, even though textually she is told what is going on, that is paganism. Because she is a woman, she is a womb. She is nothing more.
Yeah.
I'm
not saying as I agree with that. I'm saying as like, yes, that seems.
Yeah, I'm being a little mean, but that was my experience. Like when I would be like, oh, like the whole like let it be concept, the whole like, yes, I accept this. People would be like, what are you talking about? And I'd be like, the thing, like her main thing that she does.
Like in the Bible?
Yeah.
The book that we all follow.
And so like, there's a reference to like, Catholicism has a lot of lore and fandom around
love lore
around the Virgin Mary, and so Kitty is talking like more like someone who's Catholic because they'll talk about like the Virgin Mary is supposed to be kind of the example for both men and women on how to be.
Interesting.
And so she is referring to that, but she's also referring to speaking in tongues, which while is not necessarily outside of Catholicism, is definitely more of a like Pentecostal thing.
Yes.
Yeah. So again, we've already talked about it probably longer than we should have, but what I just want to say is that like they've heard of Christians.
They don't realize that there's so many different versions of Christians. Yeah. They all think there's just one Christian.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, like a lot of Protestants don't even consider Catholicism to be Christianity.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's a mess.
That was fun when I was a Bible study leader. You're not even Christian. I'm like, well, I guess they were right because then the Catholic Church said my baptism didn't count. So
they saw right through your fake baptism.
Charge them for witchcraft. They definitely looked into the future.
Ooh, there you go. That's how you get back at them.
Witches. So it's just like I liked this storyline for Kitty, but it doesn't really make sense with everything we've learned about her.
And it could have gone somewhere interesting, especially in a Christmas episode, and also for the rest of her character arc, but it doesn't.
Yeah. She also says she's more like Mary Magdalene, which again, there's a lot of fanon around the concept of Mary Magdalene. And I think there are a couple characters in the Bible that people often combine to say they're Mary Magdalene. People are like, no, those are two separate people. And I don't know as much about this, but Mary Magdalene wasn't known for being mean.
She was known to be a prostitute, but
and
that's
even
also,
the prostitute thing is like kind of
it's not real.
That's like fanon.
That's made up.
Yeah. So like
I've seen that Dan Brown movie, whatever. I know all about Mary Magdalene being Jesus's wife. Okay.
So like basically what's textually there is that she was a woman who repented and we're not quite sure of what.
Yes.
So like
and wasn't she also like one of the first people to discover Jesus's tomb.
Correct.
Yeah, she was the first person who saw him after he rose from the dead.
Mm-hmm.
That's actually like my favorite scene in the Bible. Fun fact about me. I think it's very touching because she's like, I don't know where he is. And he's like, I'm here. And then it's like, they don't say she hugs him, but like from what he says, it's implying that she's hugging him.
Interesting.
It's just cute. It's like, look at this little friendship.
Look at this little friendship. Us Dan Brown stands and Tom Hanks stands would say something different.
We were literally just talking about this last night because I remember my creative writing professor like reading Dan Brown so we could roast him in class.
Listen, I kind of want to go back and listen and like read those books and rewatch I only saw the Da Vinci Code. I never saw Angels and Demons. I want to go back because I want to make fun of them.
Yeah.
It's our next podcast.
I want to bring attention to this DVD my parents have, which we have watched on Easter's. It's like a movie about Jesus. And it's like very low radar kind of thing, which has like one of the actors from Clueless playing Jesus. And then it also has Grace from Will and Grace playing Mary Magdalene.
Wait, I'm sorry, what?
That's Deborah Messing,
Julia
right?
from Smash?
Yeah, Deborah Messing, the actress, playing Mary Magdalene.
Wait, who's playing Jesus? Is it Cher's boyfriend, not Paul Rudd?
Not the gay one, no.
Oh, okay.
It's not Paul Rudd. It's not like the guy who turns out to be gay.
Right.
It's like this guy named Elton who like
Elton, yeah.
They're trying to set Brittany Murphy up with.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
yeah.
then,
Okay.
Like he tries to make the moves on Cher, but then he drops her off in like North Hollywood.
Yeah.
Right. Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
based on Mr. Elton, who's from yeah.
It exists. I have the DVD.
Do I feel an Easter special coming up?
Another special.
Kitty goes off. And so Marley's like, okay, I think if Kitty gets in investments and stuff, Blaine's like, yeah, she maybe won't be so horrible all the time. So they have this plan and they're basically like, let's kind of use her transphobia. And so they're like, Unique's going to be Mary. And they sing Love Child. And
Beast and Shu are in on this thing, right?
I think
they
had to be.
So.
That's why I was like, they have to be, because otherwise they'd be like, wait, why is Unique being Mary? I'm so confused.
And like they do this elaborate thing where they like give birth. And Kitty is.
I loved this.
This was the wackiest number.
I loved it.
Was so entertaining.
So
I literally was begging. I was like, please, Unique give birth. Unique give birth.
It definitely read like something, some high schoolers would do on a shoestring budget.
Oh yeah.
Like
this is the most realistic number they've ever done.
Kitty is aghast and she calls it the most profane, sacrilegious horror show she's ever seen.
Yeah,
and you know
that
what?
Was a quote.
I actually felt that. I was there. I was like, I was horrified.
I was watching it. I was horrified and fascinated, and
I was
just
not
like,
horrified.
It was great. It was great.
This is my Jesus story.
I was like, I feel seen. As a Dan Brownie, I feel seen.
Yeah.
I was choked on my wine. I am not a Dan Brownie. Let's just like put that out there. It's totally a joke.
So she's like, if we're gonna do this, we have to do this right. And I'm like, for once, they're actually gonna be being sympathetic to the fact that like if Kitty is Christian and they're basically watching her like make a mockery of what she believes in, she's like, you can't do this.
Mm-hmm.
It's weirdly respectful, I guess, kind of like where they're like considering that like, oh, the only person who is actually openly Christian in our group is expressing how this offends her and making a good point that like, okay, like there's something to be said here. It's this episode is so weird.
It's so weird, and just in the context of the other Christmas episodes where a lot of the Jewish characters have to go along with the Christmas stuff. I don't know. It's weird, but I get it. I felt for Kitty in that moment. So they do it. They have Becky as baby Jesus, and they sing Away in a Manger. I found it interesting the Virgin Mary was the last person to enter the scene because just logistically in a birth scene, the woman giving birth is the least mobile and the central, you know.
Yeah.
Yes.
And Jesus coming first before the pregnant woman, that's fascinating. It's a fascinating take.
Chicken or the egg, you know.
Listen, if birth was actually like that, you know how many people would be like, sure.
You know that back in the day, they used to like heavily put women under when they gave birth. Like, I don't know what era it was, maybe like Victorian times. That was a thing. I watched a YouTube video about it. Horrifying.
Put women under
like some sort of like early form of anesthesia,
like
to give birth. No idea how it would work. I think they literally like put them in a trance and they would just like their bodies would just do things.
It was magic.
Magic, yeah.
God.
Anyway, it was a
Painful.
Today I Learned video. 10 out of 10 would recommend. Very horrific. Made me not want to have children.
So another Catholic fun fact is that according to Catholic lore, the Virgin Mary experienced no pain giving birth.
What?
Because in the Bible, labor pains are a product of original sin, right? God tells Eve, now giving birth will be painful after she eats the apple, or it's not an apple,
And because
whatever.
she's giving birth to Jesus.
And because Mary doesn't have original sin because she was the Immaculate Conception, she was conceived without sin, she doesn't experience
That's interesting.
That reminds me, there was like a world religions class I took that kind of said something like the Buddha's mother had a similar thing. We watched like a crazy one starring Keanu Reeves as Buddha.
Yeah, I watched that too in my Buddhism class.
Where like his mother is just like, oh, my water rough.
Yeah, it's trippy.
And I have like the CGI being like, I am the true, you know, I don't know Buddhism very well. It was like he said some like profane thing, and these flowers grew up with CGI'd or whatever. I'm like, what the fuck is going on
that.
here?
The theme of this episode is unlikely casting choices in religious movies.
And also everything that we know about Christianity, Catholicism.
Okay, so they sing Away in a Manger, and it looks like Kitty's having a religious experience. Like, good job, Becca Tobin. You acted it well. Because
Jake has a beard, and I was like, I don't think that's necessary, but okay. A fake beard.
Yeah, so that was that episode. Oh my, okay.
We finally reached the end.
We finally reached the end. Tina time.
Tina time.
Yeah, good. That sounds good. 13.
Sure. A lot of it was screaming at people. And being
Yeah.
mean.
It was.
Wait till you see next week.
Wait, Cullen, was this the episode that you texted us and that like you were so upset about it that you were puking?
Yeah. So there's like a meme. The guy who did the Pretty Little Liars recap, like the video series, said this a lot. Is he's like screaming, crying, throwing up, just like.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah. Just like I'm screaming, I'm crying, throwing up, I'm on the floor, you know, and that's how I felt. This is bottom of the barrel Glee. This is Acapellas. This is Shooting Star. This is the Rocky Horror Glee show.
It's like it is in that category.
Yeah.
Horrifying.
Okay.
I was introduced to Glee with this episode.
Honestly, I mean, we did Blake with the puppet episode. We're just really.
These are two
people.
unhinged episodes back to back.
This season, just think about this season. I know this episode's already insanely long, but like 2 Beatles tributes. We have the Gwen Monteith tribute. We have
Billy Joel tribute.
No, before that we have Katie or Gaga. Then we have Twerking, then Billy Joel tribute, then Blaine has puppet hallucinations. Now this. What is going on with this season? What direction are we going in? What is happening?
A new direction.
A new erection. So, okay. Derek, least favorite character.
Good. Oh man. There's a lot of characters that I was just kind of like not particular about or partial to. I don't know. It's like, I mean, Tina started off with like, we're gonna get this magic ancient glass angel that grants wishes. So I was a little bit like, okay, she seems a little crazy, not knowing anything about her.
You clocked her.
And then, yeah, I was a little bit like, okay, she's an interesting one. And then, like, I know about Rachel and like the behind the stage drama, so I already was going into it being like, Rachel, she's walking in, like, watch out for her.
She was normal this episode. Yeah.
Can I add like non-main characters? Like,
it could be an object.
Sweater has one.
Yes.
Pizza has one. Yeah.
Can I say like homophobic, like alcoholic Santa, who's just like,
100%.
I signed up for this job, but I don't care about your equity card. I'm gonna go drink and not do my freaking job, which is gonna lead to you 3 kids getting robbed and one of you having some very questionable things happen to you.
You know, as Kim Kardashian says, people just need to get off their ass and work.
You know what?
I'm like, we don't have time, but I'm making a joke anyway.
Why are you bringing up stuff that needs to be dug into? Okay, I literally said everyone, and I don't have an MVP.
Who are you? So you're going with Evil Santa or Drunk Santa, and then we have Evil Santa.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with like the main Santa, just because he was like, there's like a domino effect following him, maybe.
Yeah.
Butterfly effect, Small action.
It was like he did this little thing where it was like, I showed up to this job, but I'm not gonna do it.
So butterfly effect, if he had stayed, things may have been better.
Yeah, if he had done the job like every other mall Santa, 3 flasks deep, just like, what do you want for Christmas? Great, Merry Christmas, next.
That's all you have to do. That's the thing. It's so simple. And you could probably do it drunk. And I'm sure they have.
Oh, for sure.
Oh, yeah.
So,
yes, definitely.
Like, it's so easy.
Yeah.
My LVP is everyone, and I don't have an MVP. It doesn't deserve one this episode. No, Unique is my MVP.
My LVP is gonna be, it was between the Santas, and since we already did Drunk Santa, I'm gonna go with Evil Santa. Because he definitely went into this with the intention to rob them. Though I don't know why, because they were employed as elves.
Yeah. He didn't know that they ended up having the world's most unrealistic
yes. With like his, like there was definitely some makeup on his abs and stuff. He just walked in like shirt open, like, hey, like, I'm gonna get laid. I'm gonna get paid. I'm probably gonna steal some stuff.
Not only that, but
I want that on a T-shirt. I'm gonna get laid. I'm gonna get paid. I'm gonna steal some stuff.
Yeah, I support the Santa choices. I'm going with Becky for just like accosting people in the hallway and like.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I don't like the way they're just like using Becky and her personality as just like. It's just a joke.
Yeah, she's just like
we're just supposed to like, oh my God, Becky's so crazy. We're just like, she's just like a thing in an episode. She's not a person.
Yeah. Derek, who's your favorite character? What piece of garbage did you fish out of the dumpster?
Well, I guess like the 2 like musical numbers that like Unique was involved in, it was very much like from a camp perspective, like she brought the camp. Which, if like camp is your thing, you're kind of like, hey, yeah, that's, I mean, camp is very much like digging shiny things out of the garbage.
Yeah.
And so like, I don't know, I guess Unique was a cool one. Kitty was also an interesting one, just of like the whole, like, I'm not a virgin, but I'm a Christian. Like, that kind of stuff interests me a little bit. Like, there's a little complicated character thing there. And then like Sylvester, like she's always got like the wit, like this whole like I don't care kind of a thing to her. So I go with her just because she's kind of like one of the better characters to be fished out of the entire Glee series, maybe.
She's made a lot of sense this season. There's some seasons where I do really hate her, but this season she's like, Katie or Gaga, that's the most annoying thing they've ever done. Why are children twerking? You know, like, I get it. I get her. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's all these compilations of like Sue Sylvester being the best character on Glee for 8 minutes straight or whatever on YouTube.
Yeah.
And also like we got LASIK eye surgery from the same doctor. So I'm a little bit like, yeah.
Funny.
I don't know. I like her humor too. Like she just is one of those characters. It's like you either love to hate her or something. She's always just like being snarky, sarcastic, cynical. I'm just like, wow, we could like bitches together.
So Hannah, you say you have no MVP.
I whispered that Unique was my MVP, but actually my MVP is Jane Lynch for opening what is the craziest episode of Glee, in which for the very first time, I believe only time, that we have an actual Glee cast member, the actual actor, being in an episode of Glee. Good for her, I guess.
Or bad.
Alyssa?
I'm gonna go with Kitty just because I feel like she's the only person who had actual character development ? And she, like, it was interesting to watch her embody what she thought the Virgin Mary should be, even though she like was what's the word, like self-effacing, I guess.
Yeah, I'm gonna second with Kitty. She had something actually interesting was going on. She felt like she didn't deserve something, so she's being slightly self-aware of her bad behavior.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, there's some complexity. It wasn't just like nonsense mashing at other nonsense. So for music this week, we had some shit, some other shit. We had Blaine singing "Joy to the World," and people saying "Shut up." We had "Away in a Manger," "Love Child," the Chipmunk song, "Mary's Little Boy Child," "Rocking Around the Christmas Tree," "Here Comes Santa Claus," and "They Hum, Oh Christmas Tree." Derek, what was your least favorite song?
Oh, definitely the Alvin and the Chipmunks one. Like, just it's hard to like beat that in terms of like what is the worst.
Yeah,
I don't know. I mean, like, Christmas songs are also like blasé to me right now, where it's like, okay, wow, rocking around the Christmas tree. Haven't heard that 100 times.
Oh yeah. I listened to that. Okay.
Yeah. I think if I had to pick a worse, it would definitely be that freaking Alvin and the Chipmunks cover.
Yeah. I hate that song in general, the Chipmunks song. Hated this version of it, hated the context of it, will never listen to it again.
I'm also going with that song, but specifically because I am like 98% sure it's not even a cover.
I think you might be right, because the guy, it didn't sound like the guy who was like supposed to be singing it. It sounded like the original song.
Mm-hmm.
Like it sounds like him.
Yeah, I'm going with that one just because the entire time I was thinking about how my parents would disown me if I didn't watch it. So yeah, and I would support that decision. Derek, what was your favorite song?
No, that was just something I was thinking about.
It's a tough week. It's a tough week.
It was a rough episode to pick a favorite out of, where I was like, hate all of these songs to an extent. I mean, the one that sticks out in my mind is just like, you know, salvageable. Like, at least it's got some camp and, you know, that realistically, like a high school production would do the same, is like Love Child. It's like, it's got the poor taste. It's just like, you know, it's just a bunch of like high school students fooling around with like some props and costumes they could afford to have. So I think that's my favorite, just because it's like, this does seem like something, you know, some high school students could pull together, you know, make a YouTube video out of or something.
Yeah, I was fully expecting to be the only one to pick Love Child, as not that like I doubt your guys' taste. It's just like this one's so wacky that I'm like, no one is going to be into this. But yeah, based on like everything else that happens, it's gonna be Love Child. But I literally wrote in my notes, like for best song, Love Child, I will be taking no questions. Like, I don't care what you think, I'm saying it. But yeah, no, for all the same reasons. Campy, glad Uni gave birth to Jesus.
Surprise, surprise. I'm also going with Love Child.
See, I did not clock this episode correctly.
No, it is so weird and out there. And like, I think that's almost what makes it more palatable, because all of the other Christmas songs are just kind of bland.
They are scraping the bottom of the Christmas barrel.
Yeah. They're not good. So why not pick a song that's not a Christmas song at all? Let's do it.
Yeah, Kelly Clarkson didn't come out with her hit Under the Christmas Tree. Is that what it's called, right? Underneath
the Tree, which I did put in my Gleeboot season when I wrote a Gleeboot outline.
I feel like now I have to write like a PowerPoint version of what I would do. I think I'm going to.
Yeah, we can like do it at the end of the series or something. At the end.
Does that mean I have to write one?
You don't have to. You could just judge ours.
Yes, I will be the
judge. Okay, so mine was second place, Away in a Manger. It was cute. It was fine. First place, Blaine going, joy to the world. And then being
shut up, Blaine. Can't believe that's from this episode.
Yeah. So, okay. Derek, would you like to plug anything?
No, I'm good.
This episode, more unhinged than the last. You can follow Gleeboot on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. We are at Gleeboot Pod. You can also find us on Tumblr, gleebootpod.tumblr.com.
Cullen Ever After, Instagram. A.M.Swearingen. SWEARINGEN. Instagram. She does art.
Yes, thank you.
Follow. Goodbye.
Derek, thank you so much for coming on. You are a survivor in a Reba McEntire sense. Next week is an episode called Frenemies, written by Protestant Reformation founder John Knox. Bye.
See ya.
What?
Peace out.
Gleeboot.